On the new moon of April 1st, we saw Bitcoin hit a peak in the short term as we expected, and we saw a pullback into early April until the full moon of about April 16th. After the full moon of April 16th, we projected that the price of Bitcoin would turn around and start to rally higher and perhaps even cross this 200 moving average, this 200-day moving average. But as we can tell, the solar eclipse on April 30th was ultimately a bearish event, and eclipses seem to have brought a lot of turbulence to the market. And there's an upcoming lunar eclipse on May 16th. And what we know is that with full moons, these are price bottoms, uh, and new moons are price tops. Lunar eclipses are basically full moons, but that can be something to keep in mind, is that we could see some further downside at some point to correspond with this full moon, but also it could be possible that this wick at 25K on May 12th, that could have been the bottom corresponding with this full moon eclipse on May 16th. On March 4th, we predicted that Bitcoin would go through a period of financial optimism and would have an increase in price because of Venus entering Aquarius, which is the sign of technology. Venus is the flow of money. And, we believe that if the optimism was high enough, it could actually push us up to 60K. And because Venus was entering Pisces in early April, I believe that we will have hit some sort of limit during that time, because the sign that was rising on the ascendant when Venus was to enter Pisces was Virgo, which is all about pessimism and being more realistic. So to me, April seemed like a time to secure profits and balance any excessive optimism. And I believe that we would continue going up in April. But the truth was that the beginning of April ended up being a good time to actually have taken profits. And we ended up hitting a limit before the end of Venus entering or transiting Pisces. So I predicted that when Venus entered Pisces on April 6th, that this was a good time to secure profits and balance any excessive optimism, based on the fact that the ascendant that was rising at the time of Venus entering Pisces was Virgo. Virgo is all about pessimism and being more realistic. Pisces is all about excessive optimism. So what we know is we exited a period of excess. In hindsight, what we know is that we exited a period of excessive optimism, where at one point it seemed like we could continue going higher and higher. Bitcoin had a very nice rally in mid to late March, but we ended up hitting this resistance point right here at 49K, and essentially on April 6th, Venus transited into Pisces, and what we see is that, in hindsight, that was a good time to have taken any profits based on where we're at now. And that's because on May 2nd, Venus entered Aries, which is its sign of debilitation. Venus is the flow of money. So when Venus is in Aries, this is not a positive placement for, finances. And essentially, the only profitable markets are ones revolving the themes of Aries. So at this time, things revolving war, because Aries is all about conflict, war. It's all about action, and it's also about investing in yourself. So what I was seeing is that the market for Bitcoin could go through a period of kind of, chasing a false dream, because Venus was entering debilitation. So what I believed though was that in April, since Venus was in Pisces, that it was a good time to be taking profits all throughout the month, and that we would continue to range higher, and then we would decrease into May. But what ended up happening is that we kind of ranged downwards. Um, and then, sure enough, when Venus entered debilitation, you know, we saw a significant shift in energy downwards. Now, I'm not saying I predicted that because Venus was in Aries, it was going to crash, but I did see that the flow of money would go through a period of like challenge or like resistance because of that. So it was possible that we would continue, to go sideways, but all I could see was that it was not a good time, and that the good time to take profits was when Venus entered Pisces, especially in hindsight. And energy is transitory. So really any time around Venus entering, Pisces was the ideal time. And that's because the sign that was on the ascendant when Venus entered Pisces was Virgo. Virgo is an earth sign. It's all about pessimism, and it's all about being realistic and balancing any excessive optimism. So, yeah. So this is the chart of when Venus entered Aries, and the sign that was rising on the horizon at the exact time of Venus entering Aries was Libra. Libra is all about balance, and it's all about perspective. So what I could see was that with Venus entering Aries, this was a time to put things more into perspective. And the ruler of Venus, which is of Libra, which is Venus, and it's kind of hidden behind the vertex symbol and the sign Jupiter, was in the sixth house. The sixth house is the house of Virgo. And again, Virgo is all about pessimism, being realistic, and balancing any optimism. And when the sixth house is in Pisces, this is about making other people see our perspectives. So, what was going to happen financially is that any markets that were not justified, or where you couldn't show people the reasoning behind the price or the perspectives that back up the price level, that was going to suffer. But things that have a justification in price, things that have something that, you know, back up the perspective with evidence, things that are realistic, those went through a period of growth. That's what Venus in the sixth house in Pisces is all about. Well, the sixth house being in Pisces, but Venus entering Aries. And so, anyways, with the other thing is that with Venus entering Aries, and the ruler of Aries being Mars, when Venus enters Aries, it's all about chasing a dream. So, Venus doesn't do well in Aries because with money, it's not a good thing to chase. Like, money and chasing don't go well together. Venus likes to attract. So when Venus is in Aries, it's debilitated. And so with the ruler of Aries being in Pisces, which is all about dreams and fantasies, it's also about confusion and chaos and people seeing things completely different than each other. Because Pisces is the sign of chaos. So what I could see was that, first of all, after May 2nd, it would be, kind of a energy of chasing a dream when it comes to the Bitcoin's price. And we noted that in the previous predictions. And in hindsight, also what we're seeing too is that Venus in Aries with the ruler being in Pisces indicated a period of financial chaos in the markets, and in all markets for that matter. And again, the only profitable industry is those things that are tied to war, which is Aries. So the price of resources and goods, such as gas, have been up significantly, at this time. The other thing that's profitable at this time is just to invest in yourself, to invest time, energy, and action into your own endeavors. Because Aries is about being selfish or self-focused. So anyways, It is a good time to be selfish. Maybe take some profits where you can, cut your losses if you believe the market is going to decrease, because I believe that is the logical thing to do. Um, wouldn't you? And so the planet Venus. Anyways, the next point, the planet Venus in a general sense is the flow of money. Aries is war. So this chaos is related to economic turbulence, especially due to the conflict in Ukraine, um, and just generally due to um, confusion about the future and like kind of economic disorder at this time. So next we're going to be talking about the destruction of Luna, and whether it can bounce back from the losses and the utter chaos that it experienced in these recent times. So right now we are in a period between two eclipses, and the eclipses are happening on the axis of finances and power, which is Taurus and Scorpio. On April 30th, we had a solar eclipse in Taurus. Taurus is all about money, wealth, stability, and finances. So this really signaled a new direction for people financially. So right now and for the next several months, because eclipses have effects that last several months, that range for several months into the future, we're in a transition period economically. And a lot of times, transition comes in the form of destruction or in death, transformation of something. You know, maybe not the death in a life or death sense, but the death of something. And that's what Scorpio is about, which is the sign that opposes Taurus. So the upcoming solar, not solar, lunar eclipse in Scorpio, which happens really once every 9 years, I believe. Um, or they happen like 2 years in a row, and then they don't happen for another 9 years in the same sign. Um, or is it 18 years? Well, it's actually it's 18 years for if you're looking at lunar eclipses in Scorpio, and it's 9 years for if you're looking at just eclipses in general. There won't be another eclipse in Scorpio um, after next year's eclipse um, until like 18 years from now or something around that. But anyways, um, it is a lunar eclipse that's coming up on May 16th. And it's ironic, it's no coincidence that we had the destruction of the coin Luna as we approached 7 days, within 7 days from a lunar eclipse. Eclipses is about things getting blocked out, and they are very turbulent and um, sometimes destructive events. They are significant shakeups when we have eclipses, and they are major events. So it's not funny at all what happened, but the connection that Luna with a lunar eclipse is no coincidence. And the synchronicity with this is crazy, given that the eclipse is happening in Scorpio, which is the sign of death, endings, and transformation. So we were going to see a major event, revolving the ending of certain power structures and finances. And also within the next 6 months, we're going to receive a transformation or experience a transformation in economic direction. And it's going to start with a lot of turbulence, a lot of destruction to get rid of the old. And that's going to bring in the new. And what we saw with the new moon in Taurus is that this new moon eclipse, this solar eclipse in Taurus, was conjunct Uranus, which is all about technology, financial technology in this case, because it's in the sign Taurus, which is about money. And it's conjunct the North Node, which is about the future. This is our destiny, our direction as a collective. So at this time, it's indicating a great time to start to invest into financial technologies in a balanced and intelligent way, obviously. Not to gamble, but to invest in your sense, what's right for you and what's, you know, use your own judgment, discernment. And so, anyways, this eclipse is really showing a direction towards cryptocurrencies. And that's why I've been making so many videos about cryptocurrencies, is because this is a significant time for that technology, and this is a significant time in history. Things will never be the same financially once this, economic transition happens. We're going to be living in a world with new financial technologies, and so this is a good time to capitalize and to get your portion, get your piece before the masses get in, or before society tells you to or forces you to. And then at that point, you're already too late. You're not gaining from it, you're just adjusting. So anyways, with this eclipse happening in Scorpio, um, what we saw was that Luna experienced a complete collapse, especially because of an attack on their system, on their algorithm, a financial attack, not a technological attack, but we saw basically financial manipulation and a big entity, a whale, dumping their UST coin, and this causing their algorithm to self-destruct and to lose all value for Luna. Um, and that's because Luna, the coin, operates on a very intricate system of balance, where essentially the technology behind Luna is that they have this coin that serves as a peg to the dollar. So it's a stable coin. And then the stable coin is really backed by the algorithm, which is uh, uh, basically tied to the other coin that they have, which is Luna. And essentially, in order to keep the price of UST at $1, they burn Luna whenever somebody is minting UST. So you have to spend Luna to get UST, and this puts the price. This keeps the price and the value at a certain level. But on the other hand, if you sell UST, now you have to create more Luna. So their system mints, more Luna when you burn UST, or basically when the value of UST drops, they create more Luna in order to counteract, and in order to uphold the price at $1 and keep it stable. So it's a very intricate balanced system that they have. And essentially, what we saw is that with this significant dump of UST, this threw the peg that it had to $1 way off. So it started going way below $1, because when you sell a coin, when you put more supply of it on a market, this makes it less valuable. Just like when the US prints more dollars, this makes that less valuable. And that's why you got to pay more dollars for everything right now. That's why the price of goods, the price of chips, the price of gas, the price of everything has been significantly increasing, because that's what happens when a currency becomes weaker. So anyways, a entity dumped a bunch of UST, and this was due to manipulation based on the Luna Foundation. They were trying to accumulate more Bitcoin, and so for their reserves, in order to stabilize and to protect Luna and protect their algorithm, their stable coin. And they got a little bit unbalanced with their economic decisions. Apparently that's what happened. And so they made a trade for some Bitcoin. They gave a bunch of UST, which is their dollar coin, and then the entity that they gave it to dumped it. That's the story that I've heard. And that's what threw everything out of whack. So anyways, um, Luna was just being generated at an insane rate, and there was billions of Luna being created. And this is a synchronicity to what's going on in a general sense economically. Like, this is a theme. This is a spiritual theme that we're going through on Earth. Is just the infinite generation and manipulation of valuable currencies. It's happening with dollars. It's happening in a symbolic way with this Luna collapse on the significant lunar eclipse. And Luna, this collapse is really showing us a theme, and it's giving us a message of what we may be experiencing on a broader sense within the near future. It's really symbolic of what this eclipse is going to be about on a financial and economic sense, what happened with Luna. So, we're seeing a lot of economic turbulence on the horizon, a lot of supply chain deficits, a lot of things going left, but this is all going to lead to a going away with the old and the bringing in of some new system, especially one that's more balanced, more fair, more advanced. And this is why, we're all looking into cryptocurrencies here in this community, because in one way or another, we have been exposed to that truth, or we believe in this, and we understand that this is the future. And anyways, I've made a lot of money from it, and a lot of people have as well, just already from dabbling in it in the past. Now, right now, we're going through a period of loss in the short term, but I've made gains from Bitcoin in particular since 2020. Now, that's just to say that this is a very promising market, for everybody, especially those that have already seen how promising it can be in the past. They know that this is just the beginning, and this is also an opportunity all of us can continue to invest in and to be involved in. But anyways, the question is, will Luna be able to bounce back from this? Like, is this a opportunity to buy this cheap Luna, or to dollar cost average? And first of all, we need to understand what the project is. Like, is it something that is interesting? Is the technology behind Luna something good? And for one, we know that ideologically they had a very sound value proposition with Luna. They had the Anchor protocol, and people basically converting their dollars to UST, their dollar stablecoin, their dollar clone, and staking it and receiving 20% interest. That's what got so many people invested into this foundation. And the thing that made it collapse, that made their thing collapse, was inherent manipulation, an intentional manipulation. And this really threw their balance system out of whack. And manipulation is Scorpio, and Scorpio is destructive events when there is a full moon happening in it. And in this case, it's an extreme full moon, it's an eclipse. So we saw just this major destruction of Luna, the moon. So that is a crazy synchronicity. But anyways, as I was saying, ideologically, they had a very sound system. They had a sound value proposition, and their system operated on an algorithm of balance, an automatic burning of Luna to create the dollar coin, and a burn a minting of Luna to um, is it, oh yeah, to raise the price. You mint new Luna. So essentially, it was all an automatically balanced system. It was working very well. So for one, this checks off. They have a good technology. And if we look at UST in terms of market cap at this time, we can, okay, let me see. If we look at UST in terms of market cap at this time, we can still see they have a significant market cap. They're number 35. Even at 17% of what the value should be of the peg. So it's still a high market cap project. Luna is in the 200s. And again, Luna is just a reaction to Terra, which is, I guess you could say Earth, but Terra to me is also UST. It's the dollars. It represents the Earth. It represents stability. Luna is really just symbolically showing us the state of the economic times at this time. Luna is just a reaction. Luna is not something, that is fake. It's not something that is fabricated and artificially maintained. It just reacts to what needs to be done for the price of Terra, or I guess what I'm calling Terra, but it's really the price of UST. Terra in astrology represents stability. It's Earth. It rules Taurus. But anyways, so for one, they had a very ideologically sound value proposition. And so the next question the next thing to answer whether Luna will bounce back from this is, we need to understand that, Luna was just a reflection of economic world turbulence. And symbolically, outside of cryptocurrency, and in a greater sense, it's forecasting something much greater happening on a whole global wide scale in our economy, and and in stability and the balance of Earth on a resources level. Now, the third thing that we want to look at, which I'll do in a different video, because I feel like moving on to the next topic is, we want to look at their transits and to see what's going on with this eclipse and what it represents. I want to see if this was just a temporary event. But the real thing that would determine whether Luna can return to not maybe its previous levels, but make gains and come back, is whether people start to buy more UST again and start to utilize their system. Then the balance will naturally return, just based on the algorithm. But as long as Luna has to keep getting generated infinitely, as UST is below its peg, then this is going to keep the price down. So we'll really have to see what's going to happen with Luna. But the next thing that we're going to talk about is, our predictions for the market in general, and for Bitcoin in specific, the crypto market. And Bitcoin kind of leads the crypto market. It kind of determines its direction. So that's what we're going to talk about, is where can we expect to go next?